we've had a lot of information about new things, shiny items, fancy items, gameplay. That's all well and good. But there's something that has been flying under the radar that we've known about for as long as I can think about, but we never really knew. And that's hero skills. And now we know. This is the one thing that I was like, there's your thumbnail. No, this is the one thing I was like, hell yes, this is good. I like this a lot. I wanted for a while for them to tell us on the monster card what the Bazaar we're getting ourselves into. And now they do. The Dire Ingle, in this case, has 40 health, 10 speed, and 8 armor, so you see all of that surprise. And you see its hero skill, or its enemy skill, or whatever you want to call it. Pack Loyalty. It gets plus something strength, in this case 0, and it's plus 2 for each Dire Ingle and Inglet you fought. Which you already knew of this ability, we'd seen it before, but you didn't know the ability until you got into the fight. Now you can see it before. And the reward is a pile of money. It's not a knife juggler, it's a flame juggler, obviously. And then there's the robber in the middle that has a placeholder thing, and then the guy at the end. Ooh, this guy's got 2. Okay, I like that it shows you. I would like maybe like a little X2 next to the portrait of the hero power, or the hero skill. In a little circle, have a little X2 on there, just so you know you should hover this. Because once I learn that that symbol means Counter-Strike, why would I hover? Yeah, it's good to know that there are 2. It's good to see that there are 2. 103 health. I like this UI though. I like this change to the UI. Inflicts 1 poison whenever your opponent uses a weapon. Nice. And then has 30 armor. That's Counter-Strike. Dumping poison on our Pygmalion. Alright, Viper Monster, 30 health, 13 speed, 3 armor, Lash Out, inflicts 2 poison the first time your opponent uses a weapon. So this is like a lower version of the one we just saw. In fact, was that a Viper? I felt like it was called like a Constrictor or something. But was it actually a Viper? Ah, it's a Viper Tyrant. So that's how they are also sort of hinting that things are getting stronger. This is the Viper Tyrant. PvE fight affixes. We finally got affixes. Yay! Covetous Thief. 30 health, 25 speed. So this is an upgrade to the Thief, I imagine. Yeah, so there'll be a regular Thief version that's a lower version of this, I would imagine. This higher tier version of the Thief has Greed. At the start of the fight, gains strength equal to the opponent's gold. Oh, we saw this one before. There's actually, this is an early level thing. Maybe Covetous Thief is the base version. So here this is what we're going to get to see, right? This is what we're going to get to pick apart. The hero powers. Or hero skills, rather. Specifically not called hero powers. They're called hero skills. Let's get that penciled in. Or, no, like sharpied in permanent marker. So, low pressure center. When you use a vehicle, gain 4 altitude. Stell's hero skills are going to be important. I have not been super impressed with the altitude gain and altitude loss from her items. They seem to be decent, but they're on like a 7-second timer or an 8-second timer, which means they're only going to go off once or twice a fight anyway. And I feel like they needed to happen more regularly. These sort of triggers like hitting max altitude or minimum altitude or crossing a barrier, a boundary. I feel like these needed to happen multiple times a fight for those strategies to work. Things like low pressure center are going to help. 2 first left skills look like exclusive skills. Flagship. A vehicle, yeah, a vehicle in your leftmost slot charges 50% faster. 50% faster is what? Basically 50 speed from base. I wonder how that stacks actually. How the percentage increases through charging and speed stack. Are they additive? So do we just basically add 50 speed? Then why doesn't it say that? Are they multiplicative? So, and if they are, which way does it happen? Do we add 50% faster charge time and then apply speed to that cooldown? Or what I think is more likely is we get our base cooldown, we apply our speed, and then whatever's left charges 50% faster, is what I think will happen with things like Flagship. But I could be entirely wrong. The last one, because we talked about the other two, is Grease Fire. The first time you burn an opponent, also apply 7 burn. I mean, 7 burns a lot, but the first time you apply burn, unless Cell has some wacky ways of dealing with burn, I can't see why this is super important. If this was on Vanessa, though, for example, with Powder Keg, you could double the burn, which is then 14 burn. That's quite considerable, rather. These still have nice artworks as well. These hero skills, they still look quite pretty. I love they've done like, it's just the attention to detail as well. Like when you drag something along there, it has like a shadow. I mean, look how vibrant and pretty these hero skills are. Like the colors are just so snappy. I love them. I really do. Like we've seen this one a million times, and we've seen this one a few times as well. But this cloak, that's still quite pretty. It's this one on the far end, this karate chopping hand. I don't know. Something about the colors they're just working for me. So this is for Pygmalion. He gets Trader, which we've seen before. Your item self a +1. Conditioning, which he explained to be that your strength also increases the shielding that your shield items do. And when you get this, gain 3 strength. Okay, I didn't see that bit. That makes that a bit better. Originally, I was like, what's the strength of this card? Strength. The strength is that you gain 3 strength. And then the final one, there you go, I've got a button for this. Thick Shield. Your rightmost item shields for double, I guess? Are they going to zoom out? I think we definitely get to see these. Well, they didn't zoom out. There you go, Thick Shield. You can finally see it. Your rightmost item shields for double, so it is kind of what I thought it would be. So you put your big shield item on the right. So Peaceful is your I'm assuming that's a Y. Your non-weapon items charge 20% faster. That's quite a few items, especially if you're going for like a tanky pig build. And Behemoth, or Behemoth, or how do people actually say Behemoth? It's Behemoth, right? Anyway, you have 10 strength while you're at full health. Pretty useful with the shielding one we saw, which turns your strength into shielding as well. They cost different, so that's something new. That's true. I mean, Behemoth doesn't have a cost. Is it actually free? Or they just forgot to put 4 gold on it? Okay. The Cannoneer. At the start of each fight, give all of your items +5 ammo. This is Vanessa hero skill. Very handy, especially for things like revolvers. They can really, really go crazy with a bit more ammo, and blunderbuss as well. Basically any item Vanessa has that is likely to run out of ammo, Cannoneer is going to be exceptional for. Brimming, the next one, at the start of each day, your ammo weapons permanently gain +1 ammo. This is A, better for scaling, but B, I think better for items that will only run out of ammo once. So for example, the grenade. The grenade takes quite a few seconds to go off, has a single ammo, and then does a bunch of damage. The drawback of it being that it only fires once because it only has 1 ammo. But if you have Brimming, by the second day, your grenade can already fire twice, and that's alongside all the other stuff you do. So I think this actually has a bit of a niche where it's going to be really useful for those early game items that rely on being able to trigger twice but only have 1 ammo, as well as being good later on when you've suddenly got a revolver with, I don't know, 12 ammo in it. Sick Burn. When you apply poison, apply 3 burn to your opponent. Interesting. Thematically, sure. I guess this can be added to a poison build to add a bit of extra damage, or a burn build if you've got a poison item, but from the items we've seen so far, I'm not necessarily sure where this slides in. I think this is just like a bit of a nice to have. One thing that wasn't covered in the video that I would absolutely love to know is how you can sell or replace, if possible, if at all, your hero skills. Like, once I buy them once, am I stuck with that one forever? Like, if I buy the Sick Burn one, which gives me burning whenever I apply poison as Vanessa, am I stuck with that? Because that's kind of a iffy niche hero skill as far as I can tell so far. So I'd love to have a way to get rid of it. That's one thing we don't know yet, which would be nice to know. In fact, maybe I'll ask in their YouTube comments and see if they answer. Moving swiftly on, the makeshift plate. You have 20 armor for each non-weapon item you own. 20 armor, so distinguish between armor and shields. We have a whole video on hero stats and how to sort of tear them apart and figure them out. So go check that out if you don't know the difference between armor and shields, or if you want a more detailed explanation. But in brief, armor is the hero's stat that is applied to your block, and that is at the start of the fight converted into shield. And then it's just the shield that you start the fight with. Vigilance, whenever you use an item, gain 3 shield. Very, very handy for any build that has a lot of quick firing items. Not too many Pygmalion builds with quick firing items are defensive, but this could be a nice to have. It's only gain 3 shield, so it's nothing crazy. But if you have quite a high damaging build from a lot of smaller items with Pygmalion, and you're able to use this to defend yourself, excellent. If you have an item that fires regularly as Pygmalion, which he has decent access to speed, nothing crazy, but he tends to be able to earn enough gold to be able to turn that into speed, then great, you can generate some shield that way. I don't know if this has a place in a full tank build, because 3 shield probably won't be enough. You'll probably be generating more than enough with your percentage-based heals and your large shields from things like Skyscraper, or Space Scraper rather. Multitasker. Your medium and large items don't charge, but gain 7 strength. So this one is, again, one of those ones that we'd like to be able to get rid of if we could. This forces you into small items, but gives you 7 strength. Now, we know that most of the hero skills we saw today had about 4 gold as their cost. I would like to see Multitasker have no cost, because it has a big drawback for a small advantage of 7 strength. Considering you start with like 100 and so health, 7 strength isn't really the be all and end all, especially for a Pygmalion. So I would like to see that cost nothing, and the cost of it is that you can't charge medium and large items. You can still have passive ones, that's great, but you can't charge them. Thick Hide. Your opponent's weapons deal 10 less damage. That's a nice, interesting one. It's gonna be stronger or weaker depending on your opponent. There has been the discussion that, and this is not in the game yet, so if this doesn't happen, I apologize, but hey, that's what happens when you're following the development of game. But supposedly, we are going to get to a point where we can choose, at the end of the day, between, I think they said 3, but it could be some small number of opponents to fight. You know, you'll be shown the portrait of like a Vanessa and a Pygmalion, and maybe another Pygmalion, and you'll have to choose between those 3 which one you have to fight. If you have something like Thick Hide, you'll be constantly looking for Vanessa. You'll be looking for maybe Stell. You'll want to avoid Jules, because maybe she's doing happiness and joy instead of damage, so this will do nothing. So items like this, hero powers like this, aren't as bad as they were, or as they probably currently are, in the alpha build, if that's even what they're calling it. That being said, you are still very reliant on when you pick that Vanessa target, if that becomes a thing, that Vanessa is using a small item build. If that Vanessa is doing a full-on burn build, you're still screwed. Iron sharpens iron. At the start of each fight, permanently give your items +1 damage. Love this, love scaling. Do I need to say much more about it? And +1 damage is very small, so you'll want a lot of smaller items, but I love infinite scaling. Infinite scaling is, love it. I mean, it's technically infinite scaling, but... Ice Armor. When your opponent uses a weapon, apply 1 second freeze to it. So, similarly to Thick Hide, this is going to be specifically useful against certain people. I will say, and we covered this in our breakdown of Reynad's last gameplay stream, we broke down a full game of his, so you can check that out on the YouTube channel, where he was playing Pygmalion. He went into the classic Space Scraper, Luxury Tents, Lion's Cane, huge health pool build, like the super tanky percent health build, effectively. However, he lost before completing his run because he ran into a powerful freeze build. Like, without the freeze, that Jaws build would have come close to beating him anyway, but it was the freeze that really did him in. And again, yeah, go check on that. Go check on that video for sure. Ice Armor will have that effect against a very small number of weapons and a very big number of weapons. If you're being attacked by a lot of different weapons very quickly, then you're going to get the most value out of Ice Armor. But if the enemy is relying on one big weapon to swing at you, even applying 1 second of freeze to it is really going to drastically hurt them because they don't have other things that are still charging up. So yeah, Ice Armor really good for either extreme, but somewhere in the middle, like a Stell build or a Jaws build maybe, might not be as helpful. Especially seeing as it specifies weapons as well. It's not going to be super useful against Pygmalions that are going full defense and no weapons, or against specifically Jules builds that won't be using weapons. And then last but not least, we have Deputized. Maybe it is least. Let's read it. Gain 30 armor at the start of every non-player encounter. Again, we have scaling. Scaling is great, scaling is fun, scaling is required in the game, for sure, in order to make you keep sort of shifting things up, or have the option even to not shift things up, or build around certain things, and have the game be more interesting in the late game. You know, you're building to something, you need to be able to scale up to something, and Deputized can help with that. So yeah, I very much enjoy having lots of options to scale, and we've seen it through specific cards, we've now seen it through Shiny and Fancy, and now we're seeing it through hero skills. I really, really like the passive nature of the hero skills, because what I think they've done, because we don't see, my brain is going far faster than my mouth right now. What I think they've done with hero skills is move the passive items from a passive effect from a lot of items over to hero skills, because remember maybe 3-4 months ago, and then more, there were so many big bulky items that you just placed and had a massive passive on them. Like open close sign. You just had passives everywhere as items. Now we see a lot more active items, but the passives have all moved for these hero skills. So yeah, really, really appreciate that that's what they've done. If that's what they've done, I'm not sure. So now you know all about hero skills, you should go ahead and check out the next video to discover more about Pygmalion and how you might use them.